Welcome to an episode 38 follow-up bonus deluxe episode. After we did our recording with Troy, I reached out to a couple of the other guys who answered the same blog questions back in 2009, John Peddie and Zach Proctor, and we were able to get them to do a recording with us, and I want to present you guys with their answers. So first up, I'm going to have a quick conversation, about 40 minutes or so with John Peddie, and then we'll wrap up the episode with Zach Proctor and I going through the exact same questions, the Horowitz Questionnaire. Here are John Peddie and Zach Proctor's answers to those 17 questions. So happy to have John Peddie here with me today. Longtime friend of mine, goes back about 20 plus years to our general cinema days. First thing we usually talk about on our podcast is what we're drinking tonight. Right now I am drinking, I also double fisted a lot on these podcasts. So I have gone with two of the Freedom beers from Revolution Brewing in Chicago. Freedom of Expression is a strawberry sour, and Freedom of Press is a black currant sour. So I'm rocking with those this afternoon. What are you going to be drinking?
I am drinking a red velvet cake pastry stout from Black Circle called U-Haul to Jamaica.
Oh, well, that sounds absolutely delicious. How is it?
It's excellent. It's one of the best things Philip's ever brewed.
Oh, awesome.
Coffee beans, vanilla, hibiscus, lactose, and cacao nibs.
Ooh, that sounds real and nice and creamy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Oh, man, I'm jealous. I got to get down there and try one of those.
You get the coffee right up front, but it's not super strong.
Right on. I'm hoping that's not a frosted mug. I know we've had huge debates over frosted mugs.
Not anymore. It's pretty warm up here in my attic. So it's not my first. So
nice. That's awesome, man. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on here. You are on here because we are talking about what is being called the Horowitz Questionnaire. It's 17 questions that our friend Troy put up on his blog back in 2009 when we were all blogging. And it's just 17 questions that Josh Horowitz asked directors in the book that he wrote. He would interview a director, and at the end, he would ask them these 17 questions. So Troy challenged all of us blogging friends of his to answer all those questions also. Jason and I have already talked to Troy, and now I'm going through and talking to some of the other people that answer those questions. So I'm happy to have you on here to give us your answers, and then let me know if they hold up today, 12 years later, if you still feel the same way about your answers. So question number one, what was the first film you ever saw?
That is a good question, and I don't recall, which is what I said last time, but there's a story that I vaguely remember my mom talking about taking me to see The Empire Strikes Back in a theater when I would have been maybe 5. And apparently I was so enraptured by the film that I kept sticking my arm into the bag of Cheetos they snuck in, and it was the arm was orange all the way up by the time we finished.
That's awesome.
That might be apocryphal. I don't really know, but that's the way.
Jason and I both don't remember either, but we both have stories about Return of the Jedi being our first movies. So very much Star Wars themed. It seems like parents were really willing to take us to see Star Wars movies when we were kids.
Yep.
So the second question is, what is your favorite movie of all time?
Okay, this one no longer holds up. I said Usual Suspects the last time,
which is a great answer. I can't lie. Like that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's a fine movie, and I loved it when I saw it because I'm not one of these people who sits there watching a movie trying to figure out what the twists are. I prefer the twists to come to me and knock me out, and the one at the end certainly did.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, and especially when I put it up against like Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, films like that, Silence of the Lambs from the 90s, it doesn't hold up quite as well.
Okay.
I don't know if I have an answer to that question, but I would probably go with Silence of the Lambs.
Okay. All right. So the next question, number 3, what is your favorite line from a film?
First time I said "Pain Don't Hurt" from Roadhouse, which I still jokingly refer to as the greatest line in the history of cinema, although of course it's not.
Sure.
And I don't know if I have a non-tongue-in-cheek answer to this one either, but I do really like the speech that Red gives in voiceover toward the end of Shawshank, where he talks about some birds aren't meant to be locked up because their feathers are just too bright. And
that's great dialogue.
How he guesses he just misses his friend.
You also back in 2009 had a second place answer. Do you want to say what that one was?
Oh shoot, I don't remember that one. What was it?
Well, I'm a mushroom cloud laying motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's all right. It's silly, but it's a good one. Anytime you get motherfucker twice
From
in a
Sam
sentence.
Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The next question was, what film made you realize? Hold on. What film made you realize that film was an art?
Back to Silence of the Lambs on that one. I went to see that with some friends in high school at the old Lowe's Cherry Tree Theater, which no longer exists.
Nice theater.
I wasn't old enough to get into it, but they let me in anyway. I was really into just grisly, bloody horror movies at the time.
Before you get too far, I feel like that was kind of like their MO down there, because that's definitely the theater I would go to before I was 17 and watched a lot of R-rated movies there and never got carded also.
I didn't go to a whole lot of movies in theaters before I started hanging out with friends in college who worked at Eastgate.
Right on.
So I didn't have a whole lot of experience, but I watched Silence of the Lambs the first time, and it worked on a level I had never had a movie work on before. So I had a friend in high school who had taped it off of Showtime or HBO or something, and I borrowed her videotape all the time.
Nice.
Watched it over and over and over again. And what I didn't realize, I was absorbing all the sorts of things that Jonathan Demme was doing directorially in that, but I didn't realize it until I watched Philadelphia a few years later.
Okay.
And realized that so many of the things he was doing in Philadelphia, he had also done in Silence of the Lambs, and it knocked me out.
Yeah, Demme was a pretty solid director. I really like him.
Yeah.
The next question. Oh, this is gonna be fun. What movie do you consider to be your guilty pleasure movie?
My answer last time was Rad, which was an 80s movie about BMX biking.
Set in Indiana.
Was it really?
I believe it was either set in Indiana or filmed in Indiana, one of the two. I know it has an Indiana connection.
I didn't know that, but that makes it even cooler.
It was filmed like down a Little Five or something, I thought.
Cool. I just remember really enjoying the bike race and the lead up to it and everything else. And I don't know if it still holds up. I haven't seen it in a really long time.
Sure.
I would also consider Forget Paris, which my wife and I saw on our first anniversary of when we were dating before we got married. And nobody else likes Forget Paris, but it's sort of become our movie now.
That's awesome.
And another one, again, I don't have a firm answer, but I might also think of Sergeant Bilko, the Steve Martin film.
Oh, yeah, definitely don't like that one.
Nobody likes, but
nah.
Silly enough that it worked.
So you made a comment on here back in 2009 that it was sadly not available on DVD. So I want to make sure that you're aware that if you have Showtime, Rad is on the Showtime apps or channels or however people watch Showtime nowadays, and it is available to buy digitally, although it's a pricey $15 in the Apple Store. So
I did not know that, but I don't have Showtime.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably get it from the Apple Store.
Yeah, so again, it's a little pricey at $15. I try not to go over $5 in the Apple Store, but that's just me. I wait for stuff to go on sale there. All right. The next question was, who is your favorite movie character of all time? And I really like your first answer a lot.
Last time I said either John Keating from Dead Poets Society or Crash Davis from Bull Durham, and then also sort of in a silly fashion considered Clark W. Griswold from the Vacation films. I don't know if any of those hold up.
Okay.
They're pretty good, but I also really like Rob Gordon from High Fidelity.
Oh, for sure.
But I think what the answer would really be is if there had been a Sopranos movie before James Gandolfini died, I could easily say Tony Soprano.
Okay, nice. But my one thing when I was rereading your answers and whatnot, and I got to thinking about based on this answer. So John Keating, obviously, we only got him in one movie. Crash Davis, we only got him in one movie. Clark W. Griswold, do you think the fact that we have like 4 Griswold movies, does that help make him a better character that you can like more because you get more of him? Like, because I was thinking, like, could somebody say Harry Potter? Because they've got like 8 Harry Potter movies that they could be like, oh, this is a great evolution of a character over 8 movies. Or do you think somebody like John Keating, who only has a single movie, or like Ray Kinsella from Field of Dreams, like those great characters, do you think they get lessened by other characters that get multiple movies?
I don't necessarily think so. I think they're powerful enough in their own right. I like the way Clark is the same actor throughout, whereas the kids are different in a single film. And you sort of see him sometimes looking at the kids like, who are you guys?
Yeah, that is a fun shtick that they do with those movies. I always really enjoyed that. Um, so this will be a fun conversation because, well, we're both drinking beer at the moment. And the
Indeed.
next question is, what is your favorite movie snack food?
Well, I would have to go with beer, just like I did last time.
Yep.
I can't enjoy it very much because I can't drink beer at my own theater.
Sure.
But, I do enjoy having a nice beer with a film. The last time I had a beer at a movie was when we saw Free Solo at the IMAX.
Oh, nice.
It was very nice.
Very cool. And so, like, even when I was thinking back over this question, because obviously Troy answered beer also, and then I was thinking back, and when I was thinking back, I was like, oh man, that was like really early when we could start getting beers in movies, and then I realized I was wrong. That like 10 years before we did this, like the late 90s was when General Cinema started their like dine-in experience thing where you could get beer and wine while watching a movie. So it's going, oh yeah, we're going over 20 years now that you've been able to get a beer at a movie, and it's still not the first thing I think of. Granted, I did recently go watch Kong versus Godzilla at a rival theater here in town, and I definitely got, 2 beers while I was watching that movie there. So it's kind of just normal now, but like growing up, that was never anything like, I answered Red Vines because Red Vines is what I remembered eating after I met Dion, I ate a lot of Red Vines when I went to movies because she liked Red Vines a lot, and so they were always around. But so I respect your answer, beer, but if you were to go back to your childhood, pre-beer, if you had to get a candy of some kind, I want to know what candy you would get.
Might be Twizzlers and might be Reese's Pieces.
Nice. Those are both really good answers.
I always have a soft spot for Reese's Pieces. I always feel like a disgusting glutton if I go through a movie and eat a whole box of them.
Oh, for sure. Well, and they have one of the better peanut butter to chocolate ratios, seeing how it's almost all peanut butter and just a very little bit of chocolate. Yep. So yeah, Reese's Pieces are an amazing answer for that. Next question. Who is your all-time favorite director?
Back then, I would have said Jonathan Demme for sure. Mm-hmm. And that probably is still close to the top. Although since then, I've seen quite a number of Jim Jarmusch and Kelly Reichardt films, and I like both of them quite a lot. But I think one of those three is going to be the answer right now. If we come back in 10 years and do it again, I bet the answer will be Greta Gerwig.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, she's done quite a bit of good stuff in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
definitely rising. So I have a feeling I know what your answer to the next question is now. Who's the most impressive filmmaker working today?
No, I don't think you're going to get this one. I said John Lasseter before.
Sure.
And when Troy did the first questionnaire, it was right at the height of Pixar. With Toy Story 3. Mm-hmm. And they went on to make not necessarily lesser films, but I think they definitely peaked around that point. And of course, he got himself canceled, so that sort of tarnishes it a little bit. Whether that's right or wrong,
sure,
it kind of removed him from the spotlight a little bit. I could also maybe think of Kelly Reichardt.
Sure,
I love her powers of observation. I love the way she lets a camera, because she was trained as a photographer before she became a director, and just her compositions just kind of let you look at what's happening without making a comment on it. And I think that works really well. I'd also love to say Wes Anderson, just because of the way he creates these whole new worlds.
See that, and I'm sad to say, I think Wes Anderson peaked with Rushmore, and then I feel like it's been very downhill ever since then. Yeah.
I'm not a huge Wes Anderson fan, but I just the way what he creates when he makes a movie is impressive. None of those are the right answer though. And even though I don't like this answer, what I have to say, I think, is Christopher Nolan.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have guessed Greta Gerwig based on your previous comment about in 10 years that you think that she'd be your favorite. She doesn't have quite
as much output. She's only directed the 2 films so far, and both been fine, but she's got a ways to go. Whereas Chris Nolan, and I don't like big budget special effects films.
Sure.
But what's impressive about him is that he can make utterly impenetrable films that everybody wants to see. Whether they're going to understand them or not, they see them and they like them, and he appeals to everybody on the spectrum. And I think if you can make a movie, and of course you're going to make a movie, you're going to make $100 million if your movie contains Jennifer Lawrence wearing nothing but paint.
Sure.
Also, but if the movie stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Leonardo DiCaprio going backward through their dreams and still $100 million, you're doing something pretty impressive.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm not a huge fan of Interstellar, but I mean, it's the same thing that you're just talking about. As subpar as Interstellar is as a film, like, he makes it work for everybody that wants to see it. But yeah, things like Inception and Tenet are just, despite how somewhat complicated they are, and I mean, even Memento, if you go way back, like, I know a lot of people that didn't like Memento because of its backwards narrative storytelling, but like, you can't deny that it's well acted and looks beautiful. So like, yeah, Nolan is one of my all-time favorite directors, and is definitely one that I had to change my answer to catch up with, because I think I said J.J. Abrams was the most impressive working 10 years ago, and like, I mean, Jason said Christopher Nolan then, and I said I had to agree with him even now that it's Christopher Nolan now.
Yeah, if he were still making little films like Memento and Insomnia, I'd be all over it. But I've never been big on the special effects stuff.
Sure. So what qualities do the best directors share?
I don't remember what I said last time, but I'm going to say this time: observation, like I said about Kelly Reichardt, and attention to detail. Both.
It's kind of along the lines of what you said. Back then, you said an understanding that it's okay to just let the camera roll.
Yeah, it's a similar thing. I like a little movie that tells a compelling story just through the force of the actor's will, without computer effects or anything else.
For sure.
I just like the story to come alive to me that way.
So who is your all-time favorite actor or actress?
My previous answer to this was awful, and I will not repeat it.
I will repeat it. I don't know why you wouldn't. Henry Fonda is a great actor, and 12 Angry Men and Grapes of Wrath are both phenomenal movies.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing to be ashamed of saying Henry Fonda. Now, if that's changed, like, because one of the questions when we were asked who our favorite movie character was 12 years ago, I had said that it was Sam from Love Actually, like Liam Neeson's stepson. And it's like, I said that because I was hugely in love with Love Actually at that point in time. Like, now that I've stepped away from it 12 years later, like, as much as I like that character, that's not how I feel modern day. So if you've changed on Henry Fonda since then, it's okay, and it's still a good answer for him being who he is. But who would you say it is now?
That part wasn't the awful part. The awful part was Laura Linney, just because I liked the way she smiled.
Oh, I see. Oh, I got you. Okay, I'm sorry.
But I do still like Tilda Swinton a lot, although she's become more performance art than actress at this point. I still like Parker Posey, although back then it was mostly because of that stuff she was doing with Hal Hartley and Christopher Guest, which is kind of dropped off the map. If I were going to give you, I don't know that I have a real answer for this, but I have something I can say that you're not going to believe, and maybe nobody's going to agree with, but here we go.
Okay, let me hear it.
Will Patton.
Oh, I mean, I watch Armageddon on a pretty regular basis, so I can't be mad about that.
Every time I see that dude, I know he's going to bring me something that I'm going to like. No matter what he's in, he's going to do something good. I also feel much the same way about J.K. Simmons.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
He's a higher profile than Will Patton, but I think Will Patton is just super, super solid in everything he does. Man,
and I just saw him in something in the last couple of weeks, and I can't even remember and I don't even think it was like a new movie. I think it was something that I rewatched from like 10 years ago, and I was like, oh, Will Patton's in this. That's really cool. And I can't even remember what it was now, but he was great in it. All right. If we were making a John Peddie biopic, who would play John Peddie?
It'd be the same answers as last time. If my life had been at all interesting, I'd say Michael Madsen, but at this point, I realize I'm just a regular guy and probably always will be, so I think it's got to be John Cusack.
And there is nothing wrong with that answer, because John Cusack, you let him grow out a beard and shave his head, he'd be a perfect John Peddie. I can see him nailing your mannerisms. I feel like you guys mirror each other, life mirroring art.
Yep.
The last three are finished sentence questions. So the first sentence is, if I could remake one movie, ...
Last time I said I wouldn't mind seeing a musical version of The Relic, which was just a flip answer.
And you're talking about the 1997 like horror film, The Relic, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure there wasn't some other movie I didn't know about. So okay, that would be hilarious.
I don't have a good answer this time, although I would like to see what was in Marcellus Wallace's briefcase and find out who shot Nice Guy Eddie.
Oh, yeah.
And if somebody wanted to remake Tamara Drew or Byzantium and cast me as a character who gets to interact with Gemma Arterton in any way, shape, or form, I'd totally be in.
She is definitely a beautiful young lady.
Yep.
Second sentence. I never want to watch a movie with ...
Someone sitting near me who talks.
I'm pretty sure Jason's answer was in the same similar realm where he was like, I don't want to watch a movie with anybody who's not there to watch the movie.
Yeah. And it's been so many years since then. I've been working at Keystone long enough now to know that I never need to see another movie about World War II or any movie with Judi Dench or Helen Mirren.
Okay.
I've just completely desensitized to those.
For sure. I've never been a war movie person. There's a couple that I find okay, but pretty much most generic war movies I just don't even waste my time with anymore.
Yeah, they're fine. We've played so many of them. I'm done.
Very understandable. And the last question on the Horowitz Questionnaire is, the perfect movie is ...
One that makes you want to watch it again immediately. That's what I said before, and I think it's still my answer now. And I didn't watch the whole movie over again, but there was a Jim Jarmusch film about vampires with Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston called Only Lovers Left Alive.
I've heard of it.
And I stayed after and watched that one night at Keystone. And at the end, the very last shot of the film is Tilda Swinton coming at you. Like she's like the character, like you're seeing her come at you like she's going to bite you and drink your blood.
Nice.
It was very nice. And
I bet.
Not even kidding. I watched it, went upstairs, rewound it, and watched it again.
Nice.
Not the whole thing, but just that scene. That's the only time
I've seen. Oh, okay. I can think of two movies that I've ever watched back to back. The first one was a long time ago. I watched the time travel movie Primer. Yeah. And it's a short movie, like 78 minutes or whatever. As soon as it was over, I was so like Sixth Sense in love with the ending, where I was like, wait, what was going on during this movie? That I immediately started it again that night and watched it a second time back to back, just because I wanted, once you know the twist of Primer and you can watch for the twist throughout the movie, it made it like I wanted to watch it immediately again. And then the other one was actually just last year, and it really just had to do with the fact that it was COVID and I couldn't really go anywhere or do anything. But the night that I watched Palm Springs, I immediately fired up Palm Springs and watched it again because I just had so much fun. And it wasn't like the movie was a great movie that needed to be watched again. I just laughed so much and had such a fun time with the characters that I just put it on and watched it a second time.
Yep.
So those are the two of my movies that would fall into your category of what makes a movie perfect. So it's been a blast talking to you today, man.
Indeed, yes.
It is a pleasure to have movie and knowledgeable people on here to have movie discussions, especially when we've got something that we can look back on from so long ago that like captured us, 12 years ago and what we thought about movies and then how it's changed now. When we ended with Troy had made some comments throughout our talk that he doesn't love cinema the way that he did 12 years ago. So I wanted to pose the same question to you. Like when we were younger and we were so much more involved in before our lives got what I would call complicated with families and kids and all that stuff. When we were just, 12 years ago, you were very early into your marriage. Like I was getting out of my second marriage, or I was getting out of my first marriage. Like we were much different people back then. How do you feel about cinema now compared to then? Like, I feel like it probably doesn't control your life as much as it did back then.
Well, it didn't much because I didn't get into the habit. After I stopped being the booth manager at Keystone and started doing concessions, I didn't have to stay and tech screen stuff as much. And it got to the point that being there started to wear on me a little bit and I didn't want to be there later.
Oh, okay.
And starting something at 11:30 or 12 o'clock is, okay when you're 20 and not as much fun when you're 30, 35. Since we've reopened and we're only doing the 7 o'clock sets now, I can start movies at 9:30 or 10 o'clock, and I've seen 38 movies since we reopened.
Woo! Wow!
And you'd have to go back years to get that kind of total. I still love, and I will always love watching movies.
Good.
Nothing has changed about that. I still think it's one of the best ways I can spend 2 hours is sitting in a dark movie theater and watching a film.
That is awesome to hear. So
the context has changed a little bit.
I assume you are very much on the side of like we need to save our cinemas and cinemas need to be preserved and protected.
Absolutely. I've never been a big streaming guy. I just never got into that. I use my computer for reading and writing more than I do for watching videos and things like that. So it passed me by at some point. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but when you sit there in a movie theater, there's really no way to replicate that anywhere else.
Sure.
You can set up a home stereo system and you can get your speakers lined up with the acoustics and the whole thing and a big screen TV. It's just not the same. And I don't know that movie theaters are going to go back to the way that they used to be, but I think there's a place for them.
Sure. Well, and whenever Jason and I get into the discussion about this, my theory on it, and unfortunately I've started to veer this way in my life, is that in the same way that we now have record stores here in Indianapolis, I feel like we will get to the point where a movie theater is much less common than the multiplexes that we grew up in the the 90s, when the multiplexes boomed and there was, we had 20 movie theaters here in Indianapolis, all sharing product. Well, not all, but some of them sharing product. And it was just, oh, here's, a 12-plex, here's a 16-plex, here's another 12-plex. Like, I feel like because all these big streamers are coming in and like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and all these things doing straight to their streaming stuff, because that's what kids now, like 2 generations below us now, that's how they consume their video content. So going to the movies doesn't mean anything to them. So much like a record store is kind of not common now, but it's still there for the people who are diehard for it. I think that's what movies are going to end up going to. I think we're going to end up with like 4 movie theaters in a city, one on each side of town. And they're going to be big and busy and popular because all of the people who care about movies will still go there and support it. But unfortunately, I feel like so many people are just wanting to watch stuff on their phones or watch stuff at home or be able to pause stuff and pick it up when it's convenient for them or whatnot. People who have families, you spend $70 in tickets to take your whole family to a movie and another $70 in food. You're looking at $150 a night just to go to the movies. Or we already pay for Disney Plus. We can all sit in the living room and order $20 or $50 worth of food, and it's still a third the cost of going out to a movie. So like, that's the other double-edged sword about movie theaters, in my opinion, is like the cost of it is just so much for a family to go out that I don't think it's cost efficient for them when they already pay for Disney Plus for their kids or something. Or last year Netflix released like 52 brand new original Netflix movies, like one a week last year. Like, people who are looking for new content that don't want to spend any extra money, like, they're already paying for Netflix. So it's going to be interesting to see how like the AMC rewards program works out. I think Regal has a rewards program where you pay a monthly fee to go watch movies at the movie theaters now. Like, it's going to be really interesting to see how movie theaters try to stay afloat with that. And like I said, I think we're going to see a lot of them start closing.
I do too.
So, and it is a sad thing. I know in a lot of Jason and I talks, I discuss how I don't mind watching stuff at home anymore. Like, I watched Mortal Kombat on Friday because I already pay for HBO Max. I want to watch something as soon as I can because I don't want somebody to spoil it for me on Friday night when they go watch Mortal Kombat and then put on their Facebook feed, oh, this kill in Mortal Kombat was so great. And then I'm like, oh, well, now I know that happens. Like, I have that like FOMO thing of like, I need to watch something before I get it spoiled for me. So when I woke up on Friday morning, I watched Mortal Kombat because I wanted to see it and not have it get spoiled for me. And I didn't pay a dime for it. I wouldn't have minded watching it in the theater. Like, and that's the other benefit of, our profession is that I've paid for maybe 10 movies in my life, like in the last 20 years. Like, I just either go to screenings or, we watch them at the theater or we do whatever. So for the normal person though, like, I think it's not as cost efficient for them or their families compared to the streaming stuff they pay for. So when I say that I'm afraid of, movie theaters dying, that's not necessarily because I want them to, but it's because I'm just trying to mentally prepare myself that might be coming down the road. So,
right.
So my last question that I'm going to ask for you before we wrap this up is, what's your favorite thing you've seen recently? Like, what did you see in maybe like the last year that really just made you happy and you really enjoyed it?
I liked Mank a lot more than I thought I would.
Good to know. That's on my list to watch soon.
I had avoided it when we reopened because it was so long.
Okay.
But we played it a second time after nominations came out, and Ryan needed me to tech screen it. Okay. And it was just it was, I don't know if fun is the right word, but it was awfully close to fun.
Nice.
And David, when you go back to the director question, David Fincher is another one that could possibly have been in that category. He has such a complete grasp over what he's creating in a different way than Wes Anderson. And
sure.
Gary Oldman's
Gary Oldman's top notch in anything that he does.
He just chews that scenery up.
Nice.
I also I'm Your Woman, which I saw shortly after we reopened. It was a crime film set in the 70s with Rachel, and I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, but I'm going to try, Brosnahan from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh, okay.
It was really
I'm not sure about that one. The movie that's like on my top of my list, I'm either going to watch it tonight or tomorrow because it won Best Picture. Have you seen Nomadland?
It was really good. I liked it a lot.
Good? Nice. I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm a national park geek, so the scenes in Nomadland, which is where we're going in June.
Oh, cool.
Loved. And Ryan thought it was too interior, but I liked, and if it had been anybody but Frances McDormand, it might not have worked that well, but because she has such a presence and can say so much just with a visual expression, it worked really well. I liked it a lot. And then when I found out the Indiana connection with the one actress, that was really interesting too.
Nice. I didn't even realize that.
There's a character named Swanky in the film who's a woman from Indiana. Nice.
That's really cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, so hopefully I'm going to watch that this week since it did win Best Picture. Did you watch the Oscars at all?
I watched part of it. We watched some of it until Amy went to sleep, and then I just watched the rest of them come in on the IMDb feed.
Oh, gotcha.
I was surprised at the 2 lead acting awards.
Sure.
I thought that was going to, for sure, Chadwick Boseman, and then Best Actress was way more up in the air, but that Frances McDormand won, it just really surprised me.
So my wife and I watched him that night, and when Frances McDormand went up and gave like a 10-word acceptance speech and then walked off, my wife was like, wow, she really didn't care about winning. And I was like, that's the weird thing. Like 2 or 3 years ago when she won, she gave one of the best Oscar speeches I've ever seen when she went up there. And so I was just like, I don't know what was going on with Frances McDormand then. Granted, she had just been up on stage announcing or, giving a speech for winning Best Picture, which that pissed me off entirely that they didn't do Best Picture last like they have.
Best Picture last?
They didn't do Best Picture last. Wow. Best Picture was 3rd from last. So when they announced Best Picture, I looked at my wife and I was like, oh, apparently I missed Best Actor and Best Actress. That's weird because this is always what they do last. So I got up and I started.
I was surprised they did director so early.
Agreed. Yep. I can't lie. Whoever directed the Oscars this year or was the supervising producer or whatever, they screwed the Oscars up this year. They were terrible. They weren't fun to watch. It was pretty miserable. But yeah, so they did Best Picture, then Best Actress, and Best Actor was last. And then the worst part about it was, I haven't seen Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, so I don't know how good Chadwick Boseman was in there. I haven't seen The Father either, so I have no opinion on which one of those guys should have won. But Anthony Hopkins wasn't even there to accept it. So, literally, they announced Best Actor, and they're like, oh, the Academy accepts the award for Anthony Hopkins, and thanks, have a good night. And it's just like...
It was a lock. It was one of the 2 locks before the thing started. Chadwick Boseman and Chloe Zhao. And I don't know. I mean, Chadwick Boseman was good, really good in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I'm gonna use a phrase called Oscar speech, which I hope makes some sense. There's a scene in those films where the guy who's going to get nominated goes through. He has his scene where he makes his case, for winning an Oscar, and his was a little bit over the top, but he was fantastic. The whole movie was fantastic. Nice.
Yeah, I need to see that.
Father was better than I thought it would be, but
so the trailer looks really good for The Father. Is it going to be worth my time when I watch it? Like him and Olivia Colman looks very interesting on what the dynamic is and what's really going. I have a feeling there's some piece of the story that I don't get till later on because it's trying to make me not know if Anthony Hopkins or Olivia Colman is really in the wrong. Is that how the story plays out? No,
it's not that. It's more the way they present his character.
Okay.
Suffering from dementia, the way that they construct that.
Okay.
That was the surprising part. That you see the trailer and you know what it's about, but you don't really know how they're going to get from point A to point B. And the way that they did that, I thought was really interesting. And there's places in there where it's almost scary.
Really? Oh, that makes me even more.
The way they set up what's happening is almost frightening.
Nice.
I'm not sure I liked it, but it was way better than I thought it was going to be.
Cool. Well, that
We
is great to hear.
played the trailer for a very long time, and the trailer
Sure.
was tiresome, but the
Sure.
film did more than I thought it was going to, and I was impressed.
Awesome. That is great to hear. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and wrap up now. I really appreciate your time on this. I'm sure we will figure out some way to get you back on here in the future to talk about something else. A lot of other people that you know, like Jason Richardson, has been on here a couple of times. Troy just made his debut on here and has demanded that we bring him back for more episodes. So I'm sure we will find somewhere in the future to bring you back, because I mean, it's been a pleasure talking about movies with you, man.
Has been a lot of fun. You ought to get Ryan to do this. I don't know if he answered the questions the first time, but
man, here's a crazy thing about that. Here's a crazy thing about that. I swear to God that like a month ago when I started looking into this, when Jason suggested it, I thought that Ryan commented on one of our like 5 posts. I thought Ryan commented with his answers. So I planned on having him on here. But when I went back to find his answers to like screenshot him and send him to him and be like, hey, remember when you did this? I want to get you on a Zoom call and talk about it. I can't find Ryan's answers. So I don't know what happened.
Started doing his blog. It may not have been. He may have started after we did this. I don't remember, but
well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't think it was on his blog. I thought he commented, like Zach commented on Troy's blog and gave his answers. The same way, I thought that Ryan had just commented on like Jason's or mine or yours or somebody's with his answers, because I thought I remembered reading them, because much like Troy's, they were a bunch of things I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
And I just can't find them. So I would love to have Ryan.
But I may try to look for that too.
Yeah, if you find it, please pass it along to me so I can hit him up and get him to do another mini episode with me or something. But yeah, Ryan would be a blast to have on here also. All right, man. I'm sure we will talk to you soon. Thank you for all your time today.
All right. Thanks, Shane.
Have a good one, man. Welcome to some bonus content for episode 38 of Shane Talks. I'm joined by Zach Proctor. Probably, I think you're my oldest friend that I have. You surpassed Jason by just a little while. We all met in 8th grade, but you and I lived literally like 5 houses down the street from each other. So you and I hung out and spent a lot more time together in 8th grade. So
absolutely,
you are basically my oldest friend that I still have. And I mean, you've been a huge movie dude in my life. You've been a part of all 17 film projects that I've ever made. In some capacity, you worked on all 17 of those projects with me. And yeah, so we've worked together at movie theaters. We worked together at video stores. We have a pretty long history of hanging out in friendship. So I am honored, and it's a pleasure to have you on here. The first thing we usually do on our podcast is we talk about what we're drinking tonight. I tend to double fist it on these episodes because I talk a lot and I drink a lot. So tonight I'm doing 2 sours from Revolution Brewing in Chicago. I am doing Freedom of Assembly, which is a blueberry sour. And then I am doing Freedom of Speech, where they spell speech like peach. And this is a peach sour. So I'm. What are you drinking?
New Belgium.
Nice.
I have the Voodoo Ranger IPA at 9%.
Oh, it's the Imperial version.
Yes, Imperial. Yes.
Nice.
And then I also, I like to do a little bit of wine, so Shiraz.
Oh. I think you're the first person. You're the first guest I think we've ever had that's drank wine on an episode that I can remember.
Well,
So cheers to you for that.
To each his own.
Yeah. So we're going to get into this. I have already talked to Troy Myers, Jason Mayer, John Peddie, and now I'm talking to you.
Troy was before me.
Troy started this whole thing, if you remember. Troy was the one that put up the very first blog that challenged all the rest of us to answer these questions. So I had to make Troy first. So Jason answered it. John Peddie answered it. I was honestly the last person to answer it. You answered it before I did. So tonight we're going to talk about your answers to these 17 questions that we have come to call them around here the Horowitz Questionnaire. Josh Horowitz was the one that wrote these questions in his book, so we are naming the questionnaire after him. We've decided to take these 17 questions, and anytime we have guests on the podcast in the future, we're going to do kind of like an Inside the Actors Studio thing and make them answer all these questions at the end of our episodes. So it's gonna be a fun thing that we're gonna milk as much as we can going forward. All right, so let's start talking about your answers to these questions. And the first question was, what was the first film you ever saw?
It was Star Wars. I think it was Return of the Jedi.
Okay. Both Jason and I had that as our answers also. So it sounds like we all had parents that took us to see Star Wars movies when we were younger.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure pretty sure I saw it at Easter.
Nice. So since that's a question that can't really have an answer change to it, that's going to stay as your answer. The next question was, what is your favorite film of all time?
I got to go with Star Wars. The being exposed to it at such a young age, and just it's just something that's always stuck around. It's never. Anytime it's on TV, it's one of those movies I watch. I make my kids watch it. It just is one of those films that just is part of my life.
Nice.
I have, several versions of it on VHS. I have it on DVD. I have it on Blu-ray. So yeah,
that's
definitely
awesome.
Star Wars.
Very cool. And that's what you said back then. So your answer still stays the same, stands up. All right. So the question number 3, what is your favorite line in a film?
So I think my original one was, "Hey bartender, Joe Boo needs a refill."
Yes, it was.
That's I still use that line,
Nice.
And besides Major League being a great film, that definitely is still
for sure. Troy's answer to this was another quote from Major League, and so when Troy, Jason, and I were talking, we just got on the tangent of how quotable Major League is, just all over. It's got tons of great quotes in it.
Oh yeah, it's just one-liners all day.
Oh yeah. All right, question number 4. Let me ask you, does that still hold up? You still think that's your favorite line from a film, or is something else taken over?
Yeah, no, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay. So question number 4 is, what film made you realize that film was an art? And you gave a really nice answer, in my opinion, back in 2009, because you said it was Consternate. Which was the film that Jason and I wrote and directed together, and that you were around for the majority of it. And I don't know if you were just trying to be nice to me back then, or if your answers changed. If you have a better movie now, I won't be offended. But you did say that Jason and I's directorial and writing debut was your film that made you realize it was art. Why was that, and does that hold up?
Yeah, I think when you don't really think about it, films when you're traditional movie theater setting, you don't really think about it. It's all subconscious. There's it's just, you're just watching a moving picture, and the sound, you don't really pick up on the subtle things and the nuances of how a picture is actually made. There's a lot of hard work. It's not just, I've got an iPhone right now. I can make a movie. We were using, tape and hundreds of just cassette recorders or whatever for audio. You don't realize how much goes into it, how many people you need, and it really becomes more than just a picture on a screen when you're involved with it. So yeah, I think Constantine really showed the level of organization required, simple logistics, things like that, that really puts the art together, right?
So have you seen anything since 2009 that makes you think our film is art more than Consternate did?
Yeah, absolutely. Russian Ark.
Oh, Russian Ark. Okay. I do believe we're going to get to talking to that film here pretty soon. So you said Consternate. That makes me really happy. Like I said earlier, we appreciated all your hard work and everything you put into all the projects we did, starting with Consternate. So you definitely, went off and pursued, making film as art as a college career for a while.
Correct.
Yeah, so that was pretty awesome for you to watch you go do that.
I still wish I could dedicate more time to it, but my life kind of veered a different direction. But I still utilized a lot of the skills I learned from that. I still every once in a while get to go out there and dabble and make some stuff. So
that's awesome, man.
So yeah.
So the next question was, what do you consider your guilty pleasure movie?
Yeah. So it's funny because when you sent me when we talked about doing this, you sent me the original questionnaire, and I put in the 13th Warrior. And it was funny because I had just watched 13th Warrior. It was one of those where I was like, I don't know, it was a Hulu or Netflix or one of them. And I was like, oh, 13th Warrior, I haven't watched this in a while. And I'm just
for a reason, because it's terrible. Garbage.
It's just hot garbage.
Yeah.
But you you draw words that stick, like, yes, I can write,
And it's so sad, like, because that movie was written by John McTiernan, or I'm sorry, it was directed by John McTiernan, written by Michael Crichton, and like it was filmed. So I think it came out in like '99, but I think it was actually filmed in like '96. But everybody knew it was complete garbage, so it just sat on a a film can, backlot somewhere, just sitting there. All of a sudden, in '98, Mask of Zorro comes out, and Antonio Banderas blows up. So that studio was like, oh, well, we have an Antonio Banderas movie we can release right now and cash in on his name. And that's how 13th Warrior saw the light of day, and it was just terrible.
Nothing really good. And also the people, and well, like Michael Crichton wrote it, but he also, Congo also sucked too.
Yeah, they really... Sadly, Jurassic Park is an amazing movie, obviously, but then even like The Lost World was a terrible adaptation. Like Congo was a bad adaptation. Sphere was a bad adaptation. Like Hollywood doesn't get Michael Crichton right very, very much. All right. Have you seen anything that you would consider a guilty pleasure movie you like more than that, or is that still your go-to guilty pleasure movie?
Oh, no. I mean, it's got to be. This is terrible. Why can't Deadpool?
Oh, you can't call Deadpool a guilty pleasure, man. That movie's awesome. Everybody likes Deadpool. Deadpool was awesome. You can't consider that a guilty pleasure movie.
Well, I mean, it's just so raw. It's like one of those raunchy films, and I love it because TBS like at 7:00 will put in all the dirty words. When it's on TV,
oh,
with
nice.
all the swear words. And I'm like, And then when you watch it without the swear, without the cussing, it's like, this movie's terrible.
I can't even imagine. I recently, like about 2 weeks ago, watched I finally bought the box set of Clerks that has the TV version of Clerks on it, which like I've seen all the different other iterations, like the extended edition and all these other versions of Clerks. I'm sorry, not Clerks, Mallrats. Mallrats, and I had never seen the TV version of Mallrats. So I sat down and watched that, and it was just bonkers. Like, hearing all the ADR that they have to do half the movie's not even there. Like the stuff that they cut out and all the dialogue they had to change. Like it is a vastly different movie.
I think, as far as guilt, I think Eliminators is still up there. I haven't watched it in a while. And movies that I remember when I was growing up, like Ice Pirates.
Oh,
right?
man.
Yeah, it's like one of those.
Never heard of that.
How, you've never heard of Ice Pirates? Just like really bad 70s and 80s sci-fi, where it's just, it was like maybe after, just on that cusp of like they could do some stuff, with film, the CGI, everything looks really. It's not like you can see the wires. It's not like 50s, but like 70s and 80s sci-fi. Bad side, probably always been a guilty pleasure of mine. Jason Romberg and I used to.
Nice.
We used to go to like the video store. Because you could rent like 5 movies, and if you returned it within 24 hours, you got to rent 2 more movies. So we just like watch movies on. That's where I did a whole adapted my fast forward, watch movies and fast forward. Like we just sit there and be like, oh, this is terrible. Just kind of fast forward through parts. Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. All right. The next question is, who is your favorite movie character of all time? Back in 2009, you said Duke from G.I. Joe. Now I have a feeling that's probably not going to hold up, because I feel like I don't know where that came from when you answered it in 2009, but I feel like there's a lot better characters for you to pick from. So who would you say right now today is your favorite movie character of all time?
In the same spirit of Duke, it's got to be Mike Banning, right? Mike Banning or Jason Bourne.
From The Olympus Has Fallen, and like
Angel. He's like Olympus Has Fallen. He's like
London Has Fallen, Angel Has Fallen. Yeah, okay. I was trying to remember what the 3 movies were. Okay, Mike Banning's a good choice. I like that. Or you said Jason Bourne?
Or someone like Jason Bourne. They're like the new G.I. Joes, right? Like Jason Bourne would be more of a, all American. But I always like Mike Banning. I thought I can watch those movies all day long too.
Man, that first one is honestly flawless in my opinion. The Olympus Has Fallen, and just like what he does inside the White House, like. So, some of those fight sequences are just absolutely amazing. And thank God that one was rated R.
Oh, yeah. No, that movie was it was just it had a good opening, great cast. Everybody in it was really good.
Yeah, that's a solid. So I'll take Mike Banning as a really good answer from you with a subtle Jason Bourne thrown in there too. Granted, I'm kind of bitter towards the Bourne franchise just because I read the books and loved them, and I like the first movie okay, but they pretty much just ruined the entire franchise after that, in my opinion.
Oh, they Hollywooded it up. Come on.
They definitely Hollywooded it up. They killed, at the beginning of the second movie, they killed off a character who is super important in the third book, like to the point where you couldn't do the plot of the third book because they killed her off. Like, just completely pissed me off with that second movie. All right, so the next question is, what is your favorite movie snack food?
See, it's funny. I want to say popcorn.
That's what you said in 2009.
I mean, I know I love popcorn. What we do now is, like, it's really weird. Like, every Friday night we do family movie night, and I make microwave popcorn for the girls because that's what they like, and then I stove cook corn, like in a whirl, I have a whirly jig or whatever, and for Jenny because she likes it that way. So I actually still love making popcorn. I just don't.
So hold on. So your kids. I'm trying to figure this out. Your kids want microwave popcorn, like in the bag, pop, 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 in the microwave itself, and then for you and Jenny, you make stovetop popcorn. Like, yeah. Is that okay? So why don't you just force your kids to eat stovetop popcorn and just be like, this is real. This is Daddy making real popcorn instead of Orville Redenbacher making it in the microwave.
Well, first of all, my daughter loves Orville Redenbacher. She played it in Famous People of Indiana. She had to dress up like Orville and give a presentation. So she loves Orville.
Okay.
I don't know. I just don't want a bunch of angry kids on family movie.
Okay. Man, I would be like, Daddy used to pop this in the movie theater. We're going to eat Daddy's popped popcorn at home from now on.
I know. I love it. So, yeah, it's still popcorn. Yeah.
Next question is, what is your favorite director of all time? Now, back in 2009, you said Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
Does that hold up?
It's still got to be Kubrick.
Okay.
The guy was just a visionary, right?
For sure. That's not a bad choice at all. Like, he has a amazing resume of films that he did. Some of the best movies in their genres, and he transcended genres. You've got 2001, that's a space film. You've got The Shining, that's a horror psychological thriller film. You've got A Clockwork Orange, which is completely psychological. You've got Dr. Strangelove, which is political. Like, the guy did all kinds of genres. Like, he was never pigeonholed into doing one single genre. So there's no arguments with me about Stanley Kubrick.
You could pick up, some French or German, somebody who does, something like, riveting, or like, or even like Sergei Eisenstein, like the political filmmaker. But yeah, like you said, like Kubrick could do anything, and the best part is, like, he knew his limitations too, because remember, he gave up AI, right? Like, he was really big, but he's like, I don't have the time, and I don't like dealing with kids.
Yep.
Right? like he's just, I don't have the time to make this movie, and I don't like kids. That's basically what he said.
Yeah, it was a great choice by him too. It was a good choice by him. I mean, granted, we got a really shitty version of it, in 2000 and 2001 when Steven Spielberg decided to make that movie. But I mean, can't blame that on Kubrick. That's just Spielberg doing a Spielberg movie.
There were some Kubrick-inspired scenes, like the whole, when he was walking through the steps, the whole tracking shot. Yeah. Like, there were some very Kubrick-esque elements in there.
But that would have been such a much darker film if Kubrick had actually done it.
Oh yeah,
like, that was so Spielberg-ized, like with the kid and with it. Like, it would have been so much darker and like just a more sinister film than what they ended up making it.
Absolutely.
So the next question is, who is your favorite director working today?
Besides Shane White?
That director ain't working right now. That director's doing a podcast and trying to survive the pandemic. But I appreciate the call out. That was very nice of you.
Yeah.
Shane White hasn't made a film in 15 years now.
Well, still working today.
I appreciate that.
No, I'm just trying to figure
Well,
out.
back in 2009, you said Alexander Sukharov
Right, for Russian Ark and
for
Mother.
Russian Ark. Yeah. Is that still? I mean, like I said, I know we were going to talk about Russian Ark at some point. I know you absolutely
Russian
love it,
Ark
and it's a good
was
movie.
one of those. That was like a Troy thing, right? Like
I'm sure it was. That's right up Troy's alley.
I mean, he let me. I watched Russian Ark, and I was like, just like, oh my god, it's all one of those things where it's like, oh, it's all one take. What's the big deal? It's like, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, like it's not just like Time Code where it's a nonstop thing, but it's just people walking around New York City. Like this is massive one-shot takes that you look at it and go, how did they pull that off without cutting?
Yeah, and they did. What is it? They had
46
2 false starts. Did they have
What's
2
that?
false starts? I think they had 2 false starts, or was it 3? I forget.
Oh, I thought this was the one that it was like 46 takes or like 46 days of filming before they got the perfect take on it or something.
Well, I think there's a lot of hurt. Like there was like a lot of like going and then point of no returns. I don't know. Like I mean, just something like. I mean, all I do is watch kids' movies, right? I'm trying to think of like, is it like a Christopher Nolan or something? I have no idea.
Christopher Nolan would be a great choice. That's my choice for right now. His films always blow me away.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be somebody like that, that's still going around. So yeah, I'm gonna say Christopher Nolan.
The next question is, what quality do the best directors have?
I mean, the vision to telling a story, right? You can be a great technical director, like a Fuqua or something, like all those, like just a technical skill or what. But if you don't have like really great vision, and you can't explain the story well, then you're kind of doomed to fail.
Yeah, back in 2009, you kind of said the same thing. You said that a director understands that a story is told visually, and that it must be created by or it must match the feeling created by the sound, the music, the dialogue, and that the style is substance. Which it looks like back then you stole from Troy. It looks like it was a line from Troy that you stole from him.
Yes, that was probably very accurate. Because it's funny because I was looking at those answers. I'm like, man, I didn't say that. There's no way I came up with that. I'm not that gifted with the wordage. But no, I think it still sticks. I mean, regardless if I'm quoting Troy or not, I think it's one of those things where you can have directors who technically know the business. They know, what shots they want, or they know how to get the shot. They know but if that's all you're concerned about, you're missing the point, right? Regardless of how good it looks, it could be grainy, it could be crappy looking, and as long as it, like, look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? Probably not the best directed, director in the world, but did it get its story across? It was gritty, it was raw, and that was part of the substance of the movie.
Yep. So the next question is one that you and I actually shared the exact same answer on. Well, at least in 2009 we did. Who is your favorite actor or actress of all time?
No, man, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember reading that one. Favorite actor, actress of all time.
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Yeah. I was thinking
Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, I was thinking Jimmy. Jimmy Stewart.
Does that still hold up today?
I'm trying to think. There's not. I think it was just like in that time. I mean, that was like the golden age. I mean, yeah.
I mean, he has a super impressive resume. Like, he did a lot of amazing films. He worked with Hitchcock. He did It's a Wonderful Life. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Like, he's got a huge resume of all top-notch, super great classical movies. So I said that it still holds up to me, even though he's probably not my favorite actor, right? Probably not like my personal favorite right now at this moment, but overall, like, for his entire body of work, I probably think he is the best actor of all time.
Yeah, there's not many. There's not many people. I mean, his range and his breadth is like beyond compare. you know, I could think of some others, like even like a Tom Hanks,
Sure.
you know, is in that category just because of the range of characters he played through over the years. He definitely followed the times, and you know, he did the, you know, the campy stuff that, you know, he kind of was suited for, but he's also does great character pieces now. There's not, I mean, he played Mr. Rogers and he nailed it.
Yep.
You know, so he held his own against a volleyball, but he also jumped into a volcano, you know. And
well, and now see, it kind of sounds like right now you're answering the next question, because the next question is, who is your favorite actor or actress working today?
yeah,
And so you just made a huge argument for Tom Hanks. However, in 2009, your answer was Gary Oldman, who is still a fantastic answer.
yeah, but he's kind of pigeonholed into like the Ukrainian villain, right? Like he's not playing Jamaicans anymore.
No. But I mean, he just, you know, was in Mank this last year, so he was playing Herman Mankiewicz.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Gary Oldman has proven that, like, you literally don't know what he really looks like, because in every movie he looks different. Like, he is a chameleon of an actor, and absolutely phenomenal.
I would probably change that to Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks now?
I think Tom Hanks
I can buy that.
has stood the test of time. I still love Gary. I mean, anything he's in is phenomenal.
For sure.
Right. Yeah, I'd say Jimmy Stewart for the all-time and current Tom Hanks.
Nice. I like that. The next question: if Hollywood was making the Zach Proctor biopic, who do you want to be cast as Zach Proctor?
Skinny Jonah Hill.
That's I'm not gonna lie, like, Jonah Hill is exactly what I was thinking. Like, back in the day, you said Sean Astin, and like that's an okay choice. Like,
Sean Astin is still good.
There's nothing wrong with Sean Astin, but you know, since 2009, we've seen a huge range of Jonah Hill, both in size and in acting quality. So I think I definitely could see Jonah Hill playing you. Like, that would be a lot of fun. We have 3 sentences now that we need you to complete. The first sentence: if you could remake one movie, ... If
I could remake one movie. Oh man, sorry.
You're good, man. Think about it. Back in 2009, your answer was that would be like painting over the Sistine Chapel with flat black paint. So I feel like back in 2009, you weren't very interested in remaking any movies.
No, I probably wasn't, because it's when you're involved. Like, are you gonna have somebody remake Constantine?
I mean, Jason and I have talked about remaking it, literally using the exact same script from 2000, and not letting the kids have any cell phones or anything.
But that's you. That's you working on your own painting. What I'm saying is,
no, I would never have somebody else remake.
Dave Lichty comes in and remakes Constantine.
Nah, I wouldn't let that happen.
So I think the the easy answer is like, oh, it's the same. You can't remake somebody else's work. But if somebody were to come out and like remake something that I'd like to see, maybe like a 13th Warrior or something. No.
Oh, okay.
Like, I wouldn't
take your guilty pleasure movie and try to get a little bit better out of it.
You know what? Actually, I'd like to see remade. It's really like something with the modern technology. Is Time Bandits, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Man,
shitting on Terry Gilliam, huh?
Well, not really. I'm just like, hey, if he had an Apple IIe, then now he's got Skywalker, CG. How much different would that movie be?
That's a good idea. That would be interesting to watch. Second sentence for you to complete: I never want to watch a movie with ...
people.
I totally agree with you on this. I hate watching
working in the theater completely ruined me.
Yep.
Because even with the recliners and everything like that, going to watch movies in public is terrible.
Somebody's always on their phone. Somebody's always getting phone calls. Somebody's screen is lighting up the auditorium. Like, somebody's always getting up to rush out to, hey, hold on, I'm in a movie. Like, it completely ruins the movie going experience. Like, I would love to develop a technology that literally when you're inside of a movie theater, you just get 0 cell signal whatsoever. And, you know, I'm sure that would lead to lawsuits because people would like not learn about car accidents their families were in or whatnot.
Right.
But I mean, in the 50s and 60s and 70s, you had to wait till your movie was over to find out about that stuff. Like, I don't know. But I would love to find a
I remember
technology.
I remember one time when I was still working at the theater that actually came up because the technology was readily available then, and I think it's the same arguments were being had, is that if a doctor's in a theater and he gets a page or that could lead to lawsuits.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. I wish there was some way to do that. Like, and I something that we've talked about on the podcast a lot before is just how disenchanted I am now with the movie going experience, like at a movie theater. Like, I don't watch stuff with the public. Like, I still just watch it by myself and whatnot. But just the times that I do have to watch stuff with an audience, it's just so miserable that it makes me just not care about going to the movies anymore. So I wish there was some way to like get back like how much I loved it in like the 80s and 90s and even the early 2000s, like before everybody became attached to their cell phones the way they are. Like, it was just such a better experience, in my opinion, back then. All right, the final question of the Horowitz questionnaire. The perfect movie is ...
Anything that allows me to just check out for a while.
I like that.
It doesn't matter. It's not a genre thing. It's not a substance thing. Just something that allows me to like just check out and engage it. If I'm being constantly, jarred or if it's not grabbing my attention, then it's not worth it.
Very, very good answer there, man. Well, I appreciate your time tonight answering these 17 questions. The last
17?
thing that
Why an odd number?
I don't know, man. That's a Troy / Josh Horowitz thing. I'm not entirely sure where the 17 came from. But the last thing that I've talked to both Troy and John Peddie about at the end of talking to them is just, and I actually honestly just started going into it a minute ago. Troy admitted to Jason and I that he does not love film the same way that he did 12 years ago. He's fallen out of love with film because he feels like film just doesn't have anything to offer him anymore. He doesn't care about superhero movies or explosions or anything that Hollywood is pushing these days. And so he has a lot of trouble, like, being a cinephile and caring about film. Like, he's apparently obsessed with rap music these days, which was a fun conversation to have with him. But like, how do you feel in the last 12 years since we did this in 2009? How do you feel that your life has changed in regard to film? Like, do you still love going out to the movies, or I mean, obviously COVID screwed everything up, but before COVID, like, would you still have like family movie trips where all 6 of you would go to the movies together, or 5 of you?
Yeah, I was like, first of all, it's 5, but
yeah, 5.
So actually, it's fun. I was just talking about something similar with people from work, and because I did the movie thing, and I was like, this, and it's specifically about the pandemic, right? Like all these movies, because we're sitting there talking about movies that, they're like, oh, now, COVID's lifting, how long is it going to take for movies to get back out? And I'm like, they've got Fast and the Furious in the can. They've got, they got another Marvel movie in the can.
Black Widow.
These movies are going to come out. And I said, but is it like, I was almost equating like, could this be like an American new wave? Like,
okay.
Like things have been shut down so much.
Yeah.
And when they open back up, are we going to have like a whole new, I don't know if it's going to be like the French New Wave, right? Like
that's what I was about to say. I think that's what you're starting to reference, maybe.
Yeah. It's like an American New Wave, like, all these new movies coming out. And is that kind of, people have been pent up, they've been cooped up. But is that enough of a draw to go back to a theater? I think, I don't want to say the soul of Hollywood is gone, because I'm sure they said that in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, that everybody's always said, well, the soul of Hollywood is gone. But it really is, right?
Yeah.
I don't know when it went away. It definitely wasn't, anytime recent. It's just, what is there?
Yep.
What substance do they offer other than campiness? There's nothing really provocative. There's no what's new. Who are the young guns coming out with new content, new stories? Sure. Not new content, but like new stories. I mean, crap, everything's remade. I mean, they had to put the Mighty Ducks back out, they had to reboot the Mighty Ducks series. you know.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, that's the other kind of problem with Hollywood these days is it's either a remake of something from our childhood, it's a sequel, or in Fast and the Furious case, the 9th or 10th movie in the franchise, or it's based on a cartoon, a video game, or a Disney ride. Like there's like 1% of shit that's coming out these days is actually original content, like stuff that I haven't seen before. And even if I've kind of seen it before, like at least they try to put a different spin on it or do something different with it. But I mean, when you're just like, taking an old, movie and then just gender swapping it, like the She's All That remake that's coming out, where it's, a girl who turns a boy into prom king this time. Like, okay, like I've already seen that story. Like, you gender swapping it's not gonna make me like give a shit about this movie. Like, come up with a new and original idea. What's that?
I said that's really all they have. I mean, it's gone back. Remember, like gender swapping or making the exact same movie with a different color cast.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It's like it's the exact same movie. So,
and it's just I want more. Like, I mean, like, and that's like Jordan Peele is a great person working in Hollywood right now. Like, his movies, the last couple that he's done or produced, have been brilliant because they're. And I'm not saying it's stuff that I've never seen before, but I've never seen them done the way that he and his like people that work with him have been doing their stuff. So like Jordan Peele's movies are super interesting to me, and I always am excited for anything that I see that he's a part of, because I have a feeling it's going to be something that I haven't seen before, or at least presented in a way that I'm not used to. So like we need more people in Hollywood like Jordan Peele that are doing like genius like level stuff, in my opinion. And there's not a lot of him running around right now.
No, so I think, I mean, I wouldn't say like the experience is gone. Like, I want to be able to take my kids to a theater. I don't know if Joshua can't sit for more than 5 minutes, right? But
sure.
But yeah, I mean, to go back out to a movie would be fun. You get all the popcorn. That's like, it's all part of the fun, right?
Like a year from now, when theaters are back to, as normal as they're going to be or whatever, do you think either A, you'd ever take your family out to another movie as a family thing? Or do you think maybe you and Jenny may ever just do a date night at a movie? Or do you just prefer staying at home and watching stuff at home now?
It doesn't everybody,
I mean, I do. Yeah.
I mean, that's what that's why everything is streamed now. Everything you got, Discovery Plus, Disney Plus, HBO. Sure. Like, all these movies are coming out. Is that model going to go away? I don't think so. No. I think that, when they're looking at their revenue, I had to spend $20 extra on my Disney Plus to get the live action Mulan, which was really good, by the way.
Oh yeah, I still haven't watched it yet. I'm sure I'll see it when it's not the pay extra.
It's a remake. It's still one of those movies. It's like, hey, it had some different twists in it, right? Okay. And it was good. It wasn't just the same as the cartoon. So no, I think we'll still go to a movie. Like, I'll take the girls out to the next Disney movie, right? Rather than stream it at home, which we can do. Still do a date night. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's good. That makes
me a bro night. How about that?
Yeah, I'm down for a bro night, man. We'll find.
I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about other people.
Jason and I just had a bro date night. Well, I called it a date night, but there was like 5 of us that went. We met down at a movie theater, the new one downtown. That's the bar movie theater and whatnot.
The aisle lighting, all the little LED lights.
Really, at the living room lounge?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
We got stuff all over Bottle Works in that area. Yeah.
Dude, you guys, I mean, there's a lot of, like, Jason and I actually had a conversation about the lights while we were walking down there, because I was like,
yeah, they were like like in the hallways and around
the arches and stuff like that. Dude, I'm glad to know that you did it. I'll let Jason know that you did it. But yeah, we were having comments about it because I was like, I liked the feel that it gives in the theaters. It makes me feel like it's like an old time, like, the 1950s movie theater with the way they have their lights done.
Yeah.
So cool. I'm glad to know you did that.
That's a whole different conversation. That was a project and a half, but
I bet. Well, we'll meet down there. We'll get some beers and you can tell me all about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll watch a movie maybe, or we'll just sit in the bar. We'll just sit there and drink and talk about it. Well, dude, thank you very much.
It'd be really great to watch a movie here.
What's that?
It'd be really great to watch a movie here someday.
Yeah, maybe. So, dude, really great having you on. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for going down this memory lane trip with me. Thank you for the nice things you said about Consternate. I appreciated them then. I appreciate them now. And we're going to find another time to bring you back on the episode.
Yeah.
We'll make sure Jason's on the episode then, so you guys can talk.
You know what we'll have to do? Like in
up?
7 years, we'll have to have this talk again when Claire's finally allowed to watch Consternate.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. I'd love to see Consternate the next generation. Like, we'll show it to your kids, we'll show it to Jason's kids, and we'll let them make fun of us. And dude, now that I realize that this is technically the second Shane Talks episode you've been on, because the Consternate reunion was presented by Shane Talks that we did last August.
I didn't even know you were recording it until you said, "Now I'm going to record this," and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, we recorded that whole thing and put it out as an episode also. So right on, man. Well, thank you very much for all your time tonight, and everybody that's listening, thank you so much for your time listening to Zach and I go down memory lane and talk about stuff. We will talk to everybody later. Have a good night.
Cheers.